Imagine a world without colour. How would you express yourself? Tell your story. Colour is all around us. It's used to brighten things up and make them beautiful. You can paint something to make a fresh start, to forget the past, or to preserve it. You paint to colour and to protect. And when you paint, chances are you'll run into us. Because we've been setting the standard in colour and protection for more than 200 years. We're right there when you need us. Whether you're painting a single wall, coating a complete building, or transforming an entire city. Our products also keep transport moving and the wheels of industry turning. We even protect the things you hold in your hand. And we do it because we believe in the power of paint. It can energize communities and transform people's lives. That's why we use our expertise to inspire designers and architects and to help them shape the world that we live in. And if you think paint is just paint, think again. Our products can clean the air, reduce fuel consumption, withstand extreme temperatures, even cope with the conditions on Mars. Now we're going even further. We're working with visionaries across the globe to accelerate our innovation, all because we want to make a difference, big and small. How do we describe ourselves? Well, we like to say we've got a passion for paint. It's been part of our story since 1792. How will we be part of your story?
Buon pomeriggio a tutti, benvenuti a questa 18ª edizione di Color Futures. Sono molto felice di questa numerosa adesione. Passo la parola a Roberto. Prima di tutto vi dico le domande, se ne avete, scrivete nella chat box, le raccoglieremo e le affronteremo a fine presentazione. E buona visione. Prego Roberto.
Sì, ciao, grazie Nadia, buonasera a tutti, sono Roberto Meregalli, sono responsabile marketing di AkzoNobel Decorative Paints Italia. È un piacere per me essere qua con voi stasera, è sicuramente un incontro un po' inusuale perché eravamo abituati gli anni scorsi ovviamente a fare degli incontri di persona, incontrandoci appunto di persona. Però diciamo che, vista la situazione, abbiamo l'opportunità sicuramente, organizzando appunto questa presentazione in via virtuale, digitale, webinar, di incontrare sicuramente molte più persone. Quindi questo è sicuramente un punto positivo e quindi non tolgo ulteriore spazio, diciamo, alla nostra guest star della serata e abbiamo qua con noi, che ci presenterà appunto in anteprima il Color Future 2021, Heleen Van Gent, che è la nostra responsabile del Global Aesthetic Center di Amsterdam, appunto dove AkzoNobel ha la sede, e quindi la presentazione sarà in inglese, ovviamente, ci tengo ovviamente a sottolinearvi, e possiamo partire. Welcome to Italy, Heleen.
Thank you very much, Roberto. I'm really sorry that I can't join you face to face, but this will do. So, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm really honored and I'm really happy that I'm able to at least speak to you and tell about our Color Futures trend work with our digital means. And I would say let's just continue without further ado. I would like to present you the colors of Color Futures 21 and the stories behind our color research. So let's see if this works. Yeah, it works. Thank you. Listen, so I'm here today to tell you something about the trends of Color Futures 21. Of course, I'm going to share with you our color of the year, and I'm going to share with you how we came to translating the trends into color palettes. There we go. Yeah, it all works. Guys, I'm really happy. So, I'd first like to introduce myself. Roberto, of course, already did it, but I would also like to add that I'm the head of the Global Aesthetic Center. We're a team of 5 designers, and we work for AkzoNobel Global, which means that we design the color palettes, we do the color trend research, and we do the art direction and the color strategy for the 80 countries where AkzoNobel sells paint. We've been doing that for 28 years now. Of course, this team hasn't been there for 28 years. They would have started very, very early on in their lives with working for color. But other people have started 28 years ago. And what is the continuation of all our work? That everything we do starts with color trend research. So we started doing this because we needed color analysis. Color analysis in our case is really important. We need to know which colors are going to be preferred by our customers and consumers before they even know it themselves. So that was the start. And so for a long, long time, about 10 years, we did color trend research without sharing it with other people, without sharing it to the press, without sharing it to the other professionals. We just kept it to ourselves. And then after, well, about 10 years, we understood that people were really interested in our research. So that's when we started sharing it via the color envelope and later onwards, Color Futures. So all of this to provide you, your customers and our consumers with colors that work for the future. And I'm really proud to say that we do our color trend research 365 days a year. But once a year, we invite a group of international design experts to have conversations with us because we think it's too limited to just do it ourselves. We are really interested in the views and the ideas and the insights of other designers we work with. What we have in common is that we all have the same customers and consumers, but what we are different in is we come from all over the world and we come from different disciplines of design. What we talk about is economic trends, we talk about social trends, we talk about design trends, but also talk about cultural trends because we think that is what influences the way our customers and consumers look at the world, how they use their homes, the built environment and commercial spaces. So this is where these people come from. Of course, Europe is represented, but also Asia, South America, North America. This year we had somebody from Russia. She's not presented here in the images, but she was there as well. Poland, I think a good global spread of designers sharing their ideas and their minds with us. What we always ask them to discuss with us and to prepare in their presentations that they take with them to Amsterdam is what factors will influence the way we will be living in our homes and in the built environment in the next coming years. Because in the end, that is where our product ends up, in homes, in the built environment, in commercial spaces, healthcare environments, offices, etc. So I'm about to share with you what our discussions were about. And we always start, well, just pulling it back slightly and what we talked about for 2019. And in 2019, for Color Futures, we said we embraced optimism and we let the light in. And for 2020, it was the start of a new decade. It was all about robotics and new techniques. And we said we have to take stock and look at what makes us human. How are we special as human beings? And we talked about the fact that we are creative, and the fact that we are we team up. We look for something higher than just the normal day things. And for 2021 is going to be in the next couple of slides that I will share with you. So it was really challenging, and it was also quite intense because we talked about things that really went beyond the world of paint and color. It was much more complex. So I think this image really says it all. It's a lot of people going the wrong way because we say this well, Mr. or Mrs. Mencken says, for every complex problem there is an answer. It is clear, simple, and just wrong. So the complex answers are right, but difficult. The simple answers are unfortunately wrong. So we talked about communities and the need for metaphorical roofs over our head. We talked about being connected in many different ways, virtually, but also the fact that we're able to travel all over the world and are able to connect with people much easier than we did in the decades before this, before now. But of course, we also talked about the state of our planet, and we talked about Mother Earth. And I will build on this these stories later onwards, more in depth. We talked about the protests that we see happening at the moment for all kinds of reasons. People go into the cities and they speak out and they let their voices heard. So also something I will talk about later onwards more in depth. And we talked about the courage to build on the past. And as you can see here, this is an example which refers to the design, taking shapes and taking design from the past and give it another twist and take it into the future. But you can think about science, you can think about research, you can think about medical research and all kinds of things, folklore even, that we touch upon the things that our ancestors already thought of and worked on, and then we take it into the future. So also something that we talked about. So all in all, we said, what does it mean for us? Everything that we now touched upon, what we talked about, what does it mean for us as consumers and people living in this world? And our conclusion was that there's this need to connect with others. We want to be one world, one people. We want to make we want to make the difference together. We also talked about the fact that we want to protect the things that we care about, for example, our world, but also our communities. The third thing that we talked about is that we want to build on the shoulders of our ancestors so that we can take the best of the past into the future. And we want to be proud of who we are. But all of that, of course, needs change, a different way of living. And change starts with one small step. And change also requires the fact that you are brave enough to change. So we say the mood, the overriding mood for 2021 is all about being brave. So if we all need to be brave in 2021, then there's this need for a drop of courage to embrace this change. And of course, since we sell paint, a product that ends up in our homes and in the built environment, we are interested in how all these findings then translate into our spaces. So we say we and our customers and consumers are in need of homes. We need strong foundations where we celebrate our individuality and creativity. We need colors that give us the opportunity to really be brave and make that step. And in the rest of my presentation, I will present you with the colors and the color of the year that are able to do that. So what we have been doing in the last couple of years is to create what we call a messaging map, in which we show what we talked about so that it's easy to understand. So I'll just quickly recap what we talked about. We talked about self-belief and social solidarity. We talked about revaluing the past and equal consciousness. Then all of that is the overriding theme, is then the courage to embrace change. And then we always have four, say trends, buckets, we sometimes call them, that we then translate into color trends. So the courage to embrace change is translated into a color of the year, and the four individual buckets then translate into 4 color palettes. And those buckets, that's the more detailed trends, are the courage to be yourself. It's about speaking out. We translate it into expressive colors. It's the courage to connect to others. And it's all about the trust colors. Then we have the courage to build on the past, and that translates into timeless colors. And we have the courage to adapt to a different way of living, to be mindful about the world. There is no planet B, as we say, and that is all about the earth colors. So, after having our conversations with the people from all over the world, after having signed off the colors and the stories with our individual countries and regions, after having given it a lot of thought and having done our homework when it comes to colors that we think are contemporary and trend colors, the Aesthetic Center starts designing and translating everything that we talked about to a color of the year and 4 color trends palettes. After pinpointing all those colors and nominating them, we start, and this is really nice because we truly believe that visualization of everything we talked about tells the story in the best possible way. So we start visualizing the color palettes in room set environment photography, and that's what I'm going to share with you later onwards. Let me click on the right arrow. Yeah. So, as said, we start translating these color palettes into, these stories into color palettes. And here you see the result of our designs. You'll see that speaking out and the courage to be yourself is this beautiful red pink color palette. The courage to connect with others are the colors that these beautiful browns. The courage to build on the past is all about these beautiful yellows, and the courage to adapt to a different way of living are these beautiful blues, and I'll go much more in depth about these color palettes later onwards. If you put all those colors together, you'll see it's a very balanced and easy to understand color palette. We always are mindful of the fact that we have color lovers and color, people getting, on the first step in the world of color. If for the color lovers, we have these beautiful full-bodied colors at the bottom of our color palette, and at the top they're the more easy colors to start with, and softer, easier to start combining with. And sorry, I know it's a big moment, but I just want to make sure that you understand, in this color palette we also use the colors of previous years, because we truly believe that we present colors that are more long-lasting. It's not a color for the next year. It's definitely a color. We present colors that are there for a few years to stay. So now the big moment. I'm proud to present our color of the year. And if you paid attention, there's a lot of clues already that would give away the color of the year, but I think this is the moment. So I'm proud to present our color of the year. It is a bolstering, balancing shade that connects us back to the nature and the simple things, something that really represents the day and age that we're living in at the moment. So our color of the year is BraveGround. BraveGround is our color of the year, and the E71053 from our fan deck, the 5051. And if you put this color on your wall, you will see it's a warm, neutral, natural. It allows other colors to shine, and it provides a firm foundation for living. It's an empowering, earthy color that helps create an environment that gives us the courage to embrace change. It is not only empowering and earthy color for people to experience it, but it is also an empowering color for all the colors you can combine it with from the color palettes. I think this is a true representation of the times that we're living in, since you could argue we're not talking about heroes anymore. We're not talking about individualists anymore. It's much more cooperating with each other. It is always a group effort if we really can embrace success. So, just going into this area of our colors. As you can see, BraveGround, are the most important color for this year, is in all 4 color palettes. And that's what we have been doing for a couple of years now, because we believe that this is the most important color. And another reason for doing this is because we know all our consumers and customers are different. They have different preferences, and we would like to provide them with color combinations with the color of the year that work for them. We took tone-in-tone color palettes for this year, and as you can see, we have these beautiful reds, tone-in-tone with the color of the year, the beautiful yellows with the color of the year, the browns as well as the blues. We see tone-in-tone color combinations coming back in fashion, in interior decorating, as well as in product design. So we truly think that this is a contemporary way of combining colors all within one family, and sometimes with little tweaked old ones out that actually make this interesting color palettes. We also chose a very simple color approach for this year. We talk about the primary colors and the colors, the browns. So we have red, yellow, and blue as primary colors, and it's completed by the browns. Later onwards, I will share with you the inspiration for these color palettes, but for now, I think you understand where we're coming from. So, as promised, 4 palettes, 4 trends, the stories behind. The first trend is an empowering space. The second, an embracing space, the third, an evolving space, and the last, a space for growth. So, the stories behind our first bucket, our first trend. And this trend is all about self-belief. It's about being loud and proud and the courage to be yourself. It's about female prime ministers handling the whole COVID-19 or Corona situation really well. It is about bloggers and speaking out on social media. It is about women creating jobs for themselves and being entrepreneurs. It is about female leaders of big companies being more and more visible. Women are becoming more and more visible. You could argue that this is all about girl power. So, and who are these girls? I think it is this feminine way of managing things that is different from, of course, for men. I'm sorry for all the guys listening in, but I think it's interesting to see what women have to can bring to the game. I think on the left-hand side, it's really nice and empowering to see that on this beautiful little red card, it says, "I see bravery in you." It's shy, it's slightly held back, and at the same time, it's extremely powerful, a powerful red. On the right-hand side, I really like this girl that wears a beautiful white frock, and on her dress it's written, "I'm not shy, I just don't like you." I think a surprising way of expressing yourselves, and girl power all over the place. Another example of girl power, Greta Thunberg, of course, who would have expected that she was so powerful in changing the approach to climate change. She really well, in her own special way, changed a lot in the world. But also all the other women you can see on the right-hand side, all powerful in their own right, and they really stand for what they believe in a polite and almost held back way, but they really make things work. So what we need is that we need a place to be ourselves. We need a space where we can think differently, where we can experiment with new ideas and reinvent old ones. We can throw caution and convention in the wind and just be bold. So we translated these insights into a color palette that we call the expressive colors for an empowering space. It's all about self-belief, about authenticity. It's about positivity and about generosity. And here you can see that we took these very powerful colors like the fuchsia and the red, but we combined them with those beautiful pales, withheld pinks, a bit lilac-y, a slightly more warmer pink, and the color of the year, our BraveGround, is in the middle to kind of connect them and to make them shine, to make them look even more interesting than they would be doing if they were only in this red area, in this red family. So it really empowers the colors to look in a even more beautiful way. And I think this image instantly explains that we sell paint. We paint walls, interior walls, as well as exterior walls, but we can also use our products to decorate and to personalize in the residential areas, but also personalize the more commercial areas with. Here we took the beautiful subdued pinks. We made it into this beautiful vertical stripe, and in the corner you can find the color of the year, BraveGround, to kind of make it less girlish and more mature, slightly more serious, and it connects well with all the other furniture in the room. And as already shared, we use our products inside and outside, and we also use it for our color of the year and our findings for paint and coatings, since AkzoNobel sells paint and coatings. As you can see, there's a lot of personalization going on in these two pictures. On the left-hand side, another example of decorating with paint. It's really it's color blocking with this red color palette, and I think the way it's used, it positively influences the architecture. On the right-hand side as well, highlighting some balconies, some nooks in this architecture, and hidden and just around the corner, you'll find the color of the year. The color of the year, by the way, people, is visible in all our images. So there's always an element of the color of the year in all the room sets and all the architecture that we photographed, because we want to showcase the color in many different ways. Here as well, and I think this is a beautiful example of the holistic approach to architecture on the left-hand side. Sorry. It's all about marble, it's about wood, it's about the concrete on the floor, it's about it's on the fabric on the right-hand side. Of course, the interior is the sum of all these ingredients, where paint can play an important role to kind of give it a podium or a backdrop, to make the materials shine even more and to connect them with each other. As you can see, a beautiful way of using this color palette, because here we can see a much brighter execution of this color palette. I think it's really interesting to see that although we're in the same color family, by playing with the different shades of reds and pinks, the effect is really interesting. At the same time, I think, and we're at the Aesthetic Center, my team, we're a huge fan of using one color palette throughout the whole house. Since the color palette is so varied, you can really play with it and for example, use the brighter, the more intense colors for a living room or the more public areas of your house, and then for your bedroom, tone it down, or for the bathroom or your attic or whatever kind of space. And of course, you can also do it the other way around, since you might be more more inclined to use softer and more easy colors in the interior, in your living room, and become more bold in the more private spaces in your house. But also for hospitality spaces, we think this color palette works really, really well. They're standout colors, they're bold, you don't forget them, they can be signature colors. And of course, since you don't spend that much time in spaces like this, because it's not your home, you can really be bold and enjoy this extremely colorful color palette. Another example of residential spaces, and this actually illustrates what I just mentioned to you. You can be more subtle in the residential spaces. Perhaps all this boldness is just a bit too much for you, but it's up to you. Color is personal, and we can play with it in all kinds of places. We can play with it as designers, we can play with it as consumers. Yeah, let's not take color too seriously. Let's just enjoy what it is and what it gives us. So the expressive colors for an empowering space. Colors for a home or for a space that empowers you to be yourself and stand up for what you believe in. So our second trend. What did we talk about? What were the stories behind our second trend? So what we say is that together we're stronger. This is all about social solidarity and the courage to connect. And I think in the last couple of months, and since the pandemic suddenly hit us, we learned that we are stronger together. We do need each other, and we need to, well, and we are social animals. We really think that doing things together inspires us. We long to be together with other people, either virtually or face to face. We really miss the social contact, and somebody even talked about skin hunger, the fact that we're not able to touch each other because of the COVID-19 situation. So it makes us all the more aware of the fact that we need other people to thrive. But we also need other people to solve problems. We need other people to moan against if we feel low and sad. So again, we're social animals. And I think the image on the right-hand side really illustrates this. The fact that we're able to enjoy ourselves even more when we are able to share our emotions and to go to places where other people enjoy the same emotions. On the left-hand side, you see something that we see almost like spider webs all over the world, but also used in design and in art. If you look at our Mother Earth here in the middle, it's the idea behind this image is that we're connected in many different ways. We're connected via all our digital means, all the cables that are everywhere, but we're also connected via the air. Planes flying, or at least they did fly all over the world. The big benefit, of course, is that we share information, we share thoughts, we share emotions. We are much more aware of what's happening in the world. We are much better connected, and we can also much easier place ourselves in the shoes of others. The big downside, of course, is that a virus like the coronavirus is able to spread so much faster than if we wouldn't have had these planes flying all over the world. So it's all about being connected. It's also all about being connected in the architectural sense of the word. And this is what we see happening, buildings being built that are almost like clouds of buildings, almost mini villages in a larger city. I think this is what people want. People want to be, they want to share stories, they want to share their lives, and they want to feel part of a smaller community. So what we say is that we need a space to connect with others. And we want to do it together. And we need a space for collaboration, being together and having real conversations. Somewhere open and inviting that gives us the courage to make connections. So for this, by all these stories, we were inspired to design the Trust color palette for an embracing space. It's all about communication, solidarity, gathering, and of course, connection. Our home offices, guys, I think we're going to spend a lot of time here still in the next coming months. Here in the Netherlands, we were back into our offices for a few months, and now since 2 days, we're back into the home office. So let's make those home offices shine. Let's make them into places where we can really be inspired, where we are able to connect with people, and then it's via our laptops. But then again, I mean, connection is connection, you would say. And here in this room set, it's really interesting to see that we took all these soft, muted earth colors, and we highlight certain areas of the room in a very subtle way. I forgot to mention, which is really silly, but for this trend we were inspired. So it's not a primary color palette. We were inspired by the earth beneath our feet all over the world. So it's the colors of clay, it's the colors of earth, it's the colors of rock, and all the things that we put our feet upon. So BraveGround, of course, is an extremely integrated part of this color palette. And these colors are really the earth colors that go so well together. I mean, in nature, there's never a color mistake. Here again, an example of the interior that is connected to the exterior. Not only are we a big fan at AkzoNobel of a holistic approach to color within the house, but also the connection with the inside and the outside is something that we think is real and relevant. Same here, and here we already get the hint of how you can really combine this earth color palette with beautiful woods and the concrete of the image on the right hand side. So here again, like in the red color palette, it's all about making combinations of materials with paint. And I think this is an extremely nice example of integrating the wood into this kitchen. So it's the earth colors, and then wood plays such an important role. Not only wood, but also this color palette gets a bit of a sparkle when it is combined with copper. Look for the copper elements, guys. There. And here, this color palette in the healthcare spaces, because we believe it provides the space for concentration and contemplation. It's an easy color palette that really gives people the opportunity to relax. And that's of course what you need. But also in an office environment, also the need to concentrate and to not be distracted by too many colors, but still have this interesting, as you can see on the top left-hand side, this interesting view and while looking up from your laptop. Also very nice, of course, to have these colors around you when you have a meeting and you need to concentrate and to focus. So the trust colors, as said, the trust colors inspired by the colors of the earth, the colors we put our feet upon, and they are there for an embracing space. It's colors for a home that give us the courage to communicate, collaborate, and make connections. So our third trend is all about looking back to move forward. As I already explained, we want to, we need the courage to build on the past. Let's not step away from all the things that our ancestors already found out, researched, have huge insights on. It's really time to revalue the past and to build on what they already found. There are so many examples. I already showed you an example of design being used to really do this step up. But this is an example from the Elle Decoration editor-in-chief from China. And he gave us a few examples. And this is, for example, an example of modern Chinese design with a lot of traditional elements, but still there's this stepping up and still base ourselves on tradition, but yeah, use it to for the future generations and for future use in a very contemporary way. And of course, we can take examples from every country. I mean, for Italy, it would have been, I think, extremely easy to do something, but I wanted to share the broader scope with you. Another example, I think the architecture, always the beautiful architecture, most of the time really fits the landscape of the build of the country where it's being used and where things are built. And this as well, looking at the landscape, then mimicking it in traditional based architecture, but of course do it in such a way that it's beautiful and contemporary. So what we say is that we need a space that gives us the courage to use the past to carry us into the future. It's about building on the past. We need spaces that tell our own personal story, our own heritage, where we come from, who we are and what we love, mixing all the new to build a story, to build a future-facing layered story. Here we were inspired by the yellows of the past, the present and the future. And these are the timeless colors for an evolving space. I think this is one of my most favorite images because it tells the story in such a good way. Furniture from the past, furniture, contemporary furniture, and all surrounded by this beautiful color palette. I hope you already seen a few shapes coming back, because for this we always choose a decorating shape that we think fits this day and age. And in this year we chose the arches to use our paint for painting arches in various rooms and in various ways. So the arches in this case are painted by us, just added to the architecture in this lovely yellow color palette. And also, well, the color palette can be used throughout the whole house, as I already explained. And here we did something that we thought was a nice idea, to take the energy out of this bedroom, because we understand that the yellow is quite energetic. We built this room divider around the bed that still gives you this embracing feel of our color of the year, BraveGround. So you can really decorate and play with paint. Here as well, you can see again the home office, as well as these beautiful chairs, this mid-century modern chairs, and then here the shape as well, and just the other way around, but a nice decoration on your wall with paint. Educational spaces, of course, this beautiful energetic yellow is perfectly suited for these educational spaces where you need a lot of energy. You can go the full-bodied color palette, and where you need to tune down a bit because you don't want your pupils to be over-enthusiastic, you add a bit of BraveGround. And for the hospitality spaces, we think this is a beautiful color palette. It's welcoming, it's warm, it's really something you would like to invite your guests to be. So timeless colors for an evolving space. And then our last trend, our fourth trend, is all about treading lightly for a brighter future. There is no planet B, there is no escape. It's all about eco-consciousness, and it's about the courage to adapt the way we live. It's all about the fact that during the pandemic, we heard stories of the canals in Venice suddenly having swans. It's your country, so you can either acknowledge it or say that it's nonsense, but that was a story that went all over the world. There were fish swimming, there were deer suddenly in big, usually busy city centers and treading around. We suddenly saw the sky being more blue. So nature is extremely resilient if we only give it a chance to really be as resilient as, or we give them the chance to be resilient as it has been during the pandemic, when we kind of stepped back for a while. It is about planting trees. If we all plant trees, if we all just start by planting one tree, we will leave the planet in a much better shape than it is now. We owe it to the next generations to hand over the planet in a better way than the way we're treating it ourselves now. And as said, the nature is resilient. So if we give it a chance, the cure can come from the earth. But there are many, many ways, and this is why I think we need to be courageous to do what we need to do. It's about being mindful of plastic. It's about the circular economy. It's about renting things instead of buying them. It's sharing with your neighbors. It's being mindful of products and not overpopulate the world with stuff that we actually don't need. So what we say is that we need a space that gives us the courage to change the way we live and to take responsibility. It's a supporting change. We need a responsible space where we can celebrate the earth and show our commitment to preserve it for the future. And here we were inspired with these beautiful blues that the world inspires us with. We took blues because we wanted to add the greens of the plants themselves to this blue environment. And I'll show you that later onwards how. Colors for a space of growth. It's all about simplicity, it's about reuse, it's about responsibility, and it's about legacy. So, beautiful blues, natural products, a lot of plants, and we think an environment like this really makes us feel better in our homes. Again, the home office, a lot of plants, and yeah, I think you in Milan, you were the first to have this beautiful concept of growing terraces and balconies. I think you inspired the world with building like this. The darker shades of this color palette, with a very subtle color combination in this circle. Of course, it acts in a very different way if you compare it with this much more lighter color combination, where, of course, we think people are also in need of if you have to spend a lot of time in your home. And since these are kind of healing colors, so we think they really work for healthcare spaces as well. And if something works for a healthcare space, why wouldn't it work for an office space? So we think these beautiful color palettes and the colors of nature are the colors that we really need into our offices. So proudly presenting the Earth colors for a home that inspires you to make small steps to embrace change so we can forge a brave new world together. So, Earth colors for a space of growth. And then something I'm always quite eager to share with everyone I share this story with, all this beautiful material called paint is really extremely, is a product which really can transform the places where we live, where we work, and which we use for commercial purposes. So it's all about the transformative power of paint. And in the next couple of slides, I will show you how we tell that story. When we start photographing all these room sets and the exteriors, etc., we usually start at a location that is white, and then we start adding paint. We hold on to the props that are the most prominent, and we just add a few extra cushions and details. So bear with me. This is the white room that we enter mostly, and then we start adding paint on the walls. We just add a few flowers and a few cushions, but the material is just basic, what we found there. So this is BraveGround. I think this provides you with a very sophisticated way of decorating. Whereas this is more energetic and more sunny, and it's a totally different atmosphere. And then our last one, tranquil, soft, airy, totally different. Just add a few plants. But most importantly, change the color of the wall. So that brings me to the end of my trend story, but I would like to make you aware of the fact that all the colors that I discussed with you come from our 5051 fan deck. And of course, they're found you can find them in the SIKKENS Expert app. It's something you can download, and if you need any information, please go to my Italian colleagues of SIKKENS Italia. And of course, the choice of your product is extremely important. Of course, you can visit our websites, and all the information of our products is there, as well as the story of Color Futures. But I think the best thing to do is to contact your SIKKENS store or your SIKKENS representative and ask them for information, because they know best, and they can always help you out. So, on behalf of my colleagues of the Global Aesthetics Center, I would like to thank you for your attention and for your time. I really hope that you will enjoy the colors of Color Futures 21 and apply them on your wall. Try them out, and they are really worth trying. It's on my wall as well. So, thank you very much, and enjoy the colors of Color Futures 21.
Thank you, Heleen. I hope you can hear me.
I can.
Thank you so much for sharing the story. I mean, again. So I hope it will be an inspiring story for all our viewers. And now I want to share some questions. Just 1 second. Maybe some other ones will come in. I have a question from Vincenzo. He asked, colors have a big power to connect humans and nature. Can colors change the perception and vision of the world?
Ooh, that is a very big question. In a way, yes, it can. I mean, I think color influences the way we look at the world. You can stand out with color. You can hide things with color, and you can definitely beautify things with color and make them more interesting. Changing the world, yeah, on our level, I think it can. Changing the world in a big way, I hope we can, but definitely from a design perspective, I think we can change the world, and color it really adds something to our perception and to how we look at things.
Then we have another question, which is actually a basic one. And how important is it to consider color in context and not on its own? especially in interior design?
Color is always something in context. You cannot take color on its own, and because it's always connected either with material or other colors, or it's connected with the light, or it's connected with there is no color without context. There's no color without light. There's no color. So that's just impossible. There's always something that connects with this color. You better, at least that's what I always think, you better take control of that context, because otherwise the context takes control of you. So we're always very mindful of which colors and what kind of materials we combine colors with.
Yeah, and the palettes show it, because color of the year on its own is something, and when you put it in context, it can change radically.
It becomes so much more interesting, and that's exactly why we, and this is, I think you still see the slide, but this is exactly why we think our color of the year, and this year it's BraveGround, but of course in all the other years we had different colors, is always, it really changes the colors around it, change the color of the year, but the color of the year also change the colors around it. So this is interaction between colors.
And then I have, of course, a very, a question that I was expecting. How has COVID-19, the fear and the lockdown, affected consumers' perception of color? Because that is actually something that we cannot, it's happening.
It's happening, definitely. Yeah. It is happening. I hoped that we could by now say it was happening, but it is still happening. Definitely, we had our trend forecast brainstorm in a year ago. So then nothing was, the world was kind of normal. And then we started, we had this brainstorm, we started designing, etc. And then, of course, in March, we were hit by the big pandemic. And we had a conversation with the designers to ask if they thought the message of this Color Futures 21 was still the right thing to share. And we also revised the color of the year as well as the color palettes, because we were aware of the fact that there was really a big change going on. So we did another revision in June, and the idea was that we were to present these colors because we truly believe that BraveGround is a color that reminds us of the simple things that we now see are much more important. We realize that connections, our responsibility, growing your own, making your own natural environment, all these things are suddenly so, in a different context, much more important. But the finding is that all the trends that we talked about are very relevant and are still relevant, and actually were kind of sped up and accelerated by the COVID-19 virus. So the trends were already there, but by having this coronavirus, the trends and the sentiments were just accelerated, and they're even more relevant than they were a year ago. And when we look at the color palettes, I think the darker shades of these color palettes are there to almost support us and surround us and to warm us with, whereas the lighter color palettes are the colors that we need in our houses to kind of pull the light in and to make them less moody and dark.
Yeah, I think you answered Christiana, because she asked, she's aware that the research is like 1 year at least before. So how, if something like COVID-19 happens all of a sudden, how can you analyze that during the realization of the trends and the palettes? That's what you said.
Yeah. So what we say, so we revised everything that we found in 2019. We went back to the group of people we had our discussions with. The idea of the insight is that all the trends were still relevant, but they only were accelerated. They were more and faster visible than we expected them to be because of the pandemic. And but if that wouldn't have been the case, we would really have stopped our research and we wouldn't have brought it out, because we can only talk about something that we still think is relevant, and then we had adapted our way of working. I mean, we can only tell the story that we still support and think is relevant, and this is the story that we truly believe in.
Yeah, and then there's another question. Monica, which of the colors proposed do you consider new colors?
To tell you the truth, we think the brown is especially the brown color palette is a very new color palette. Of course, we remember it from a long time ago, but we pulled it up, we dusted it off, and we did it in a very different way. We truly believe that brown is the new black. You can see it happening in fashion and in interior design. Brown is really embraced as this new color approach. And that's why we are so happy with the fact that we integrated brown in the red area, we integrated brown in the yellow area as well as in the blue area, because it is our, hero color, our most important color. So this brown color approach for me really represents contemporary color approach.
Okay, then we have some questions on which products to use, but you can actually write me and I will support you in that case. We have another question from Vincenzo. He's asking, which one is the color of your workspace and why? Which color do you like? Which is it your home?
This is my home, yeah, because we're now confined to our homes again. But on that wall, I make it smaller. That wall is BraveGround, because we always see the spaces where we live, but also our offices as a kind of laboratory to test out the colors ourselves. So it's on that wall behind my sofa, and I really love it. It's such a easy but also powerful color to have around you. It really connects you with it. It's an earth color that I really like. I have a lot of clay elements in my ceramics in my house, and it very beautifully connects with that. So I think therefore it is a contemporary color, because it also has this handmade quality to it. So it's in my house, but I have to admit it's in my office as well. So wherever I go, I'm embraced by BraveGround at the moment.
Then we have another question about color of the year 2020. When used, well, I'll let you, of course, answer the question about our color of the year 2020.
The color of the year 2020. Sorry, and you broke up a bit, Nadia. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, the question was, which was your color of the year 2020, and was it, successful or used?
Yeah, it was the Tranquil Dawn. It was really successful. It was a very pale greenish, bluish color that we were inspired by the dawn, the sun coming up, or at least even before the sun coming up, all these misty air qualities of the sky turning light, and so a beautiful color. Yes, it was really successful. It was appreciated all over the world, as by the way is BraveGround, because we're now in our second month. We just had a month after the introduction, and we really see a lot of positive feedback on the color of the year. Yeah.
I think it's in one of the palettes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's in the earth color palette. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's in the middle, top row. That's the one.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Can the colors influence emotions? It's all about emotions. Of course, we can have a long chat about that.
I think I can say one thing about that. Color can influence emotions, definitely, but color is also very personal. So how colors influence emotions is something extremely personal. I mean, bright red can make you, well, Nadia, really happy. You don't know, but I just say something. Whereas bright red for me might be too much, and I'm dark blue makes me more happy. So definitely colors can influence, but depending on who you are.
Then we have this last question. Our homes have definitely become shared spaces. I mean, through the webcams and the digital meetings. So the background color, I mean, does it have a new role in communicating?
Oh, I think I must say, I love the fact that we're now Zooming and communicating from our homes, because there's no one so curious to know what the interior of other people. So I'm really happy with this, with how we're communicating at the moment. I think the background in general says a lot about who somebody is. And of course, you suddenly see a lot of people sitting in front of their book case, and they're showing all their books, and it says something about how knowledgeable they are about things. I mean, you can really go through all the books, but a color also says something about who you are and where your interest lies. So yes, I think yes, color really says something about what a person, who a person is, and I think it's something to be mindful about, how you present yourselves on screen. I mean, it's a bit idle, but on the other hand, I think it's interesting to experiment with that. I mean, the MS Teams already has this function that you can adapt your background with colors, and etc. So I'm not the only one with that insight.
Be creative.
Definitely.
Okay, then I said the last one, but it's really interesting to read all these questions. Rosella is saying, I really love colors and I use them in my projects, but a lot of clients are afraid to use them to paint with the house. How can you help me convince them?
You know, it's the joy of having color around you is just huge. So, of course, just paint a small wall, just paint a few square meters, or just let people get used to it. And on the other hand, it's also sometimes really can push people a bit further than they would make decisions if they made their own decisions. I mean, I've never, to tell you the truth, never met anyone who was sorry to put color in their homes. I mean, sometimes it takes some getting used to, and sometimes it's 2 or 3 days, but then the joy of being surrounded by colors is just, yeah, is invaluable, I would almost say. And it's such an easy thing to do. Perhaps tell your customers that if they really don't like it, they can always paint it back. I mean, but I'm sure they will never do it because they will like it so much. It really says something about it. It says something about their personality. It presents them in a different way to their friends and family. It's really added value. So perhaps a nice mood board, a visualizer app, things like that.
Yeah, well, even a color future palette, you know, that's the aim, the color confidence, how we can help.
A long way. Yeah? So just take a picture from their rooms or their apartment or their interior or space, and Photoshop those colors in, and I'm sure that you're able to convince them.
Yeah, okay. I see the question coming up again about the product. As I said, for a specific request on which product to use, we would need to go further in depth on technical aspect. And so maybe I can answer you privately, because I need some more information. So I think maybe we should, last one, sorry, I don't want to miss nobody. Which of the proposed colors do you think will represent your 2021? I think maybe
That's a nice one.
yeah, Elisa, I think she means your personal 2021.
Yes. Well, I think that is really interesting.
Mhm.
I think what I never expected, and 2021 of course is still to come. I'm going to move house, so time to paint a new house. What I never expected when we were designing these color palettes, there was this more conceptual idea of having the reds, the yellows, and the blues, and I never expected this yellow color palette to turn out so beautifully. I like the idea of colors from the past, the present, and the future. I love those colors with BraveGround as a kind of basis and as a fundament. So, and I hope that my new house is going to be, well, something. It is a very old house, so it's the past. We're going to live there now, and I hope that we will spend many years there. So I think the timeless colors represent my 2021 in the best way.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Heleen, for being with us again this year.
Pleasure. It was really nice.
Yeah, the digital version, but we hope in the future that we will be able to, you know, meet the audience again physically and
Definitely.
see you, of course. I think this is, I hope everybody has enjoyed. All the content was absolutely inspiring. So now I will thank you to the audience. And of course, you can find, sorry, Heleen?
I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the audience for spending so much time with us. So thanks from my side.
Thank you so much. Well, you can find my contact below, written in the slide. So for any kind of question, or if you need some kind, I mean, even feedback would be very useful on the palettes, on the content. And of course, for technical advice, because that's what we do. We deal with paint. So paint is actually the medium for color. And so please enjoy the Color Future palettes for 2021 and embrace change. That's my final message. Grazie a tutti per essere stati con noi fino alla fine. Spero che sia stato diciamo, molto interessante, molto utile per il vostro lavoro, e spero che possiate usare queste palette in maniera, come dire, pratica, di supporto per i vostri progetti. Il libro digitale sarà disponibile, come abbiamo scritto, sul sito SIKKENS nei prossimi giorni, lo stiamo caricando, dove troverete tutti i codici colore delle palette che fanno il generale. Vi ringrazio e rimango a disposizione, contattatemi pure all'indirizzo indicato nella slide. Grazie a tutti.